The drama surrounding the WNBA didn't need a script. It wrote itself in hard picks, swallowed whistles, and a countdown clock on the league's brightest star. Caitlin Clark's season is over after just 13 games, and the indictment fans are shouting isn't subtle. This wasn't bad luck. It was a slow, public unspooling fed by negligence, vague messaging, and an appetite for revenue that outweighed protection. It began as a strain and became a map of pain. A quad in May, groin injuries in June and July, a bone bruise in August. One setback folded into the next until the climb back up felt steeper than the schedule. Clark's absence isn't just a fever problem, it's a league problem, because night after night everyone saw the same film. Clark hit off ball, chucked through screens, grabbed by the jersey, knocked off balance before she even touched the ball. The officials had time to see it. They had more time to call it. The whistle almost never came. Fans didn't imagine this. They watched the pattern take shape in real time, then read it in black and white. The hits weren't isolated. The physicality wasn't contained to one team or one game. It became the way to play her. Denial, contact, disruption, and the referees tasked with managing that escalation did nothing to diffuse it. The face of the league was treated like a rookie with no cachet. Meanwhile, the league shouted about sold-out arenas, exploding ratings, and record sponsorships tied to the same player it refused to defend. Last season had already set the stage. Clark absorbed an outsized share of flagrant fouls, a stretch punctuated by the Chicago Sky and Angel Reese and accompanied by visible mockery. Those weren't basketball plays. They were invitations to normalize something uglier. This year, that energy spread. Sophie Cunningham took her own share of punishing contact. Aaliyah Boston carried it too. The calls didn't follow. Sometimes not even the common ones. The message landed: keep hitting, keep hacking, keep going until someone tells you to stop. And yet the league's most valuable draw kept moving through a schedule built around her name. On nights when arenas doubled their capacity just to meet demand, she was on the floor. On days when precautionary tried to pass as reassurance, she was back again, taped, braced, and limited, because the alternative meant empty sections and refunds. That's the part that gnaws at people. It wasn't some freak injury on an awkward landing. It was the compounding of cheap shots and denied space, the torque of denied cuts, the accumulation you can see coming from a month out. Injury math is simple. Don't let a strain become a tear. Don't let a bruise become a shutdown. She never got that window. The timeline reads like a warning ignored. Training camp brought the first flicker, tightness in the quad, then a groin that lingered, then burned, then tore. A bone bruise while she tried to fight back. All the while, the tag stayed day to day, a bandage word that kept tickets moving and hope inflated. Inside, the reality was harsher. The burst after a screen wasn't there. The drives lost a step. She grimaced through minutes that never should have been logged. If she pushed, the staff was supposed to pull. Instead, the push won. When the news finally hit, the Fever tried to soften it with care and gratitude. Amber Cox confirmed what many suspected. There wasn't enough time left to bring Clark back safely. The long term mattered more. They'd look ahead to 2026. Clark's own words were heavier. Hours every day in the gym. A single goal. And then the two hardest sentences. She wouldn't be back, and disappointed didn't cover it. She found the light where she could. Fans showing up. A team growing through adversity. And then did what leaders do, turning her gaze to the playoff chase she'd now have to watch. Management's statement acknowledged reality, but it didn't address the other half of the story. What about the nights the whistle never came? What about the protection a star should expect in any league built on stars? That's where fans turned toward the commissioner. The injury pressers and the growth sound bites sounded polished, practiced, and emotionally empty. There was no hard admission that officiating had failed repeatedly. No vow that the standard would shift. No acknowledgement that targeting was allowed to become a tactic. The disconnect widened. The league celebrated profits in May and June, then sidestepped responsibility in August. It felt less like leadership and more like PR. That vacuum had consequences. The market moved in hours. All-star tickets, once north of $200, slid to $60 as resale sites flooded. The event was in Indiana. Clark City, her stage, and the air just left the room. People who'd planned for months demanded refunds. Others simply bailed. The league had already moved Fever Road games into bigger buildings to capitalize on demand. Now those upgrades looked like liabilities, rows of empty seats and a ledger that no longer balanced. Television schedules built around her vanished into lower numbers. Sponsors tied to the gravity of her name stared at a different reality. It didn't fade slowly. It dropped. What stung most wasn't only the injury. It was the sense of being strung along. For weeks, day-to-day held the line while the truth stood behind it. Those inside the team had a sense of where this was headed, well before the announcement. The public didn't. 2 months might have hurt for a night and then given space to breathe. Probable and game-time decision for 8 weeks felt like a pitch. Fans remembered the talk of constructed flexibility and constructive dialogue and heard none of the only words they wanted. We messed up, here's how we'll fix it. The anger didn't stay theoretical. Boycott calls spread. Some swore off the playoffs. Others canceled seats. Announcers with the largest platforms said the quiet part out loud. When Clark plays, they lead with the WNBA. When she doesn't, they don't. That's not a moral judgment. It's a mirror. The league built a surge around her and then failed to protect the investment. If you refuse to blow a whistle to shield your juggernaut, you risk losing her and everything tied to her. Through it all, the Fever kept playing. Kelsey Mitchell kept attacking. Aaliyah Boston kept leading. Lexi Hull kept grinding through the space that opened when the face of their season disappeared. They are not quitting. They are not finished. But what they should never be again is unprotected. Because this wasn't just about Clark. It was about a standard. When officiating refuses to recognize constant contact as a pattern, when communication reduces complex injuries to daily coin flips. When leadership uses growth metrics as a shield against responsibility, the cost arrives whether you plan for it or not. It arrives in empty arenas and silent cash registers,